what are the big things that you are looking for? And I want to like give a little bit
Oh,
of like, because I'm not an expert in this. I've been in the game dev industry for a minute. I've been watching things and I see a lot of people talking about Steam wish lists. Obviously, they're like later on you might be looking at Metacritic. I feel like that's less and less relevant over time. You were talking about surveys of like the player base, or there's all these different things, and I've seen people argue about which one works, and if you're a new company or a new studio trying to spin up a game, look, don't worry about these. Okay, you've got something that's working. Like without don't I don't know, give away your IP, I guess. But like, what are the things that you tend to be looking at and spotting as it comes to like, is this going to work out or not?
oh my gosh, that's a great question. So, things like Steam wishlist, things like Metacritic. I don't want to say they don't completely matter, but we definitely take an angle where they don't necessarily or inform our model all that much. Steam bit more, but definitely not Metacritic. What I would say, what we analyze that kind of feed the overarching Mindshare score that we report on is we look at search trends. Now, a lot of companies will say, "Well, yeah, we look at our search trends; it doesn't tell us anything." Yes, but if you exhaustively look at the entire ecosystem, it does. So we look at all of it, like literally everything, every single week. And this is true across all the sources that we analyze and look at. So we look at search, we look at YouTube, we look at Twitch, and then we look at Reddit, we look at TikTok, and we look at Steam. And then depending if we're talking about mobile or not mobile, we also, in partnership with AppMagic, we look at download and revenue data for mobile on top of everything else, right? And these are the sources we define as like premium. They provide a good signal with the right weighting behind them that can basically fuel our model that says what's going to find an audience versus not find an audience, what's going to garner that attention versus not garner attention, right? Sources that I think are unfortunately either not good or maybe kind of less important than those are like places like X. We get asked about X all the time and Blue Sky. Candidly, we think TikTok and Reddit are amazing sources. You don't need to go to either of those places. They are less consequential than something like TikTok and Reddit ultimately. So that'd be one, and then two Metacritic scores.
I mean, obviously
Unfortunately,
that's very
bad.
close to launch, so there's not. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. And like what we say about Metacritic is that it could create a bump. If you have a well-reviewed game that maybe had less of a campaign behind it than other games, then there is a sustained bump. And this is what we always say about sentiment and vibes, basically. Let's take Astrobot, for example, which was my personal game of the year last year. But granted, I have kids, so I'm right in their demo where they just want to play Astrobot all the time. So I have very fond memories of my experience with that. But let's take Astrobot. Yes, it was Sony's big title going in the fall, but I would argue it was the Metacritic and the critical like love of this game that really boosted it beyond just a solid platformer release to a oh wow, this is the next big franchise within the
mm,
platformer ecosystem. Knowing that Astrobot has been IP before with Sony, they've released demos and they've treated him as a character to onboard people into whatever their controller's doing now or VR experience. But like now he's like on his own in a really well crafted game, and I would argue that vibes and positive sentiment did uplift that game and turned it into what it ultimately was game of the year, right? So congratulations to Sony
mm,
and Astrobot, amazing game. And that's where I think Metacritic has an impact. But that said, a lot of poorly reviewed games also find an audience and also do like numbers, at least out the gate. But, and this is what we tell people all the time, there's like three pillars you fall under as a game from the attention economy standpoint. And the worst one we always say is no attention, meaning nobody knows you're there, thus you have no attention, thus you release the thing into the ecosystem that finds five people, but you are just forgotten because no one knew you were there. It doesn't matter how good or bad the thing is. If nobody knows it's there, no one will ever experience the thing, right? And that's
right.
sad, but that's the majority of games. In the middle of that is negative. Now, is negative going to hold attention for long? No, it's so fleeting. For example, the Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League was my favorite one to talk about last year because it had an audience at day one. It just didn't stay to week two, right? It just went up and crashed down. So people I would say the internet will watch a car crash, but a car crash cannot hold attention more than a day, right? Or 2 days tops, right? They'll come, they'll watch it, and they'll leave. The third, which is the Astrobots of the world, that's the sustained positive momentum, good Metacritic score, good vibes from the creator community. Everybody loves this game. Yeah, there's going to be a backlash because it did win Game of the Year and people are like, over what? But, at the end of the day, like it had great vibes coming out the gate and it was able to sustain that positive sentiment and positive vibes through the entire fall into now, right? Where they're still releasing content behind the game, and gosh bless them, I'm so excited. But like, it's because of the positivity there, right? And that it saw upside from that. So that's where I would define like things like Metacritic and stuff like that. You see it, but you see it in the form of sustained attention, less of like, will it impact its launch?
Got it. Okay.
So yeah.
Does this sound familiar? You're in a leadership role at a game studio. Everyone is busy working. No one has any time. But the actual game itself, isn't in a good spot. Maybe it's the tech. Maybe it's the lack of a validated prototype. Maybe it's that every person seems to have a different idea about what we're trying to build. But you've got a job. There are reports to send, meetings to schedule and facilitate, the occasional season of performance reviews to go through. And everyone is always so busy. When you step back, it makes you wonder if everyone is just going to keep slowly walking towards the abyss until the project or game fails. Is this what it means to be a leader in games? In tech? To endlessly repeat the same sequence of meetings without really moving the needle? To spend hours trying to get Jira tickets and dashboards where they should be? To pretend that everything is fine when you know deep down it really isn't? It doesn't have to be this way. You can make a difference. You can help your team and game succeed, but sometimes you need a bit of help to get there. I've started a game dev leadership accelerator. It aims to level up leaders who see opportunities to make a difference but don't know how to capitalize on them. We'll walk through what it means to lead well and give you tools to understand your organization's challenges and implement changes to overcome them. Game dev is hard. Knowing how to lead will give you an edge. It will still be hard, but you'll be ready to tackle it. If you're interested, let me know below, hit the link. I hope to see you in the accelerator because I believe better leaders will help teams make better games, and I look forward to someday playing what you create.